This is Hops and Spirits Bar Conversations. Come for the craft beer, bourbon, whiskey, and great drinks. Stay for the conversations. Here's your host, Jonathan Green.
Another Super Bowl is officially in the books, and sorry all you Bengals fans, Houday Nation, it just didn't end up how I think many people expected, but congrats to the LA Rams and to a lot of, just a good game and a good halftime show as well. I really love that. And you know what also I really love? That we've got a great episode for you this week. For our conversation, we talk with country musician Jacob Bryant. He has a really cool story to share and makes some amazing music. And then for our tasting notes, we welcome back Jake Sulek and to talk about using cream liqueurs with cocktails, because I feel like that's all I see on the shelves these days, and it's a little colder, and maybe you want something a little more hearty. Don't forget to check out all of our other podcast features, videos, and so forth. Go to hopspirits.com for that. And now, let's not wait any longer and get into the show.
It's almost time. Where did I put those? Here they are. It's time for tasting notes.
Joining us once again for another tasting notes is a fan favorite of mine. I always love talking cocktails with this guy, Jake Sulek, beverage director, partner with the Professors LLC. Jake, welcome back.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate it.
Now, you know, we've talked a whole lot of different things. Even though while we're talking, it's nice and sunny here in Lexington, it still is technically winter. And I feel like one of the things that a lot of people go to around this time of year, maybe I'm completely wrong, but at least for me, I feel like this is something that people do a lot more, is go for those cream liqueurs, you know, the Baileys. And
Yes.
Really, I went through the aisle the other day at Total Wine, and I was amazed by how many different ones are there nowadays. So I figured let's talk about some cream liqueurs. First off, for those that don't know, what is a cream liqueur?
It's a relatively new category of liqueurs. The idea of mixing dairy with alcohol goes back hundreds, if not thousands of years. But it wasn't until very early to mid-70s when the company that is now Bailey's actually created the first cream liqueur. So it's only been with us a few decades. Basically what they discovered is a way to alter dairy's protein so that when you mix it with alcohol, it doesn't sour and curdle. So they were able to create a very shelf-stable liqueur. Basically, a cream liqueur is, one, it's a liqueur, which means it's always going to have sugar in it. So it's always going to be sweet, as opposed to a liquor, which is going to be a spirit that's going to be pure alcohol. Second of all, because it's a cream liqueur, it's going to have some form of dairy that's been stabilized so that it doesn't sour in a bottle. So think of it as like a very, very sweet milk.
And one that can also get you intoxicated.
Yes.
And
Yes,
also needs
absolutely.
to be refrigerated, because that's another thing. Liquors and spirits, you can usually leave those out. Cream liqueurs, you definitely want to have those refrigerated after opening pretty much.
Absolutely. I always have just masking tape in the kitchen. I'll write the date that I open a cream liqueur and then tape it around the bottle. That way I never forget it.
And that's also because they don't last forever, correct?
That's correct. I think Bailey's right now recommends drinking it within 30 months, but I think across the board for all cream liqueurs, I would go ahead and drink it 6 to 8 months, just to be on the safe side.
Now when mixing these, obviously they are versatile. I mean, you could go from your morning coffee
Yes.
to you know, an evening nightcap. I mean, you can go across the board. How do you, for those that want to do more than just say pour it in a coffee or put a splash of their favorite alcohol in there, how can you work with cream liqueurs?
So you want to first of all avoid citrus. So any other drink that's got citrus, a sour, a punch, a daiquiri, a margarita, throw those out the window. You really don't want to play with citrus with your cream liqueurs. But any classic built or stirred drink, think of substituting the sugar or liqueur in that recipe for a cream liqueur. I think that's the easiest way to do it. You know, we go to coffee a lot with these things. When you create a coffee drink with a cream liqueur, what you're really doing is taking the template for an Irish coffee, which is whiskey, sugar, and coffee, and you're substituting the sugar for a cream liqueur. So you're really just taking an old standby and kind of playing Mr. Potato Head with it, swapping some of the ingredients out for something else.
I love that analogy right there. And for those that might be curious of one that you've enjoyed or kind of one that they can make at home that's a little different than, like we were talking about, just a quick substitute, what's a recipe that they might be willing to take a shot at and might be pretty shocked by?
I'd say Actually, doing a really professional tasting White Russian, which kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but doing a White Russian really well with cream liqueur is one of my perfect dessert drinks. So you want to take a good base spirit, like a really tasty brandy, whiskey, or especially rum. Add an equal part cream liqueur, and then I usually like to use half and half. Shake the bejesus out of that, and then rather than putting it on the rocks, I just like it up in a coupe, and then just grate some fresh nutmeg over top. So the cream liqueur combined with the half and half is going to kind of balance out any of the ethanol bite from the booze, and what you're going to get is just like a really rich, creamy, really almost like drinking a dessert.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. And then before I let you go on this topic, I was fortunate enough to talk with Stevens Charles from Ellis Cream Liqueur, which is a Cremas liqueur out of Haiti. And he was talking about how, these things can be used year round. And for them down there, especially in Haiti, it's warm, so they drink it kind of all the time. What do you say to folks that may be a little nervous to drink it maybe in the warmer months, so to speak?
I'm one of those guys who says go for it. Drink what you like. I'm going to drink red wine in July the same way that I'm going to drink white wine in January. And that goes with a lot of things. It's not just alcohol, it's also food. You should eat and drink what you like. I say go for it.
I appreciate that as always, and thanks for sharing some cocktail knowledge with us, Jake.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Remember to check out Hops and Spirits on social media at Hop Spirits, all one word, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also find Hops and Spirits on YouTube and at hopspirits.com.
Joining us here for the bar conversation is country musician. He's got a brand new album out called Bar Stool Preacher. Welcome in, Jacob Bryant. Jacob, thanks for taking some time to chat with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Now, before we got to, I hit the record button, we were talking a little bit about drinks, and I know you drink a little bit differently these days, which is kind of perfect because we're coming off a dry January. So what are you drinking these days?
Man, I'm definitely not perfect. I can't say I'm perfect by any means, but I did decide to, I guess, get sober, slow down as much as I can, and like I said, it's been a struggle, but it is what it is. But right now I'm on this non-alcoholic IPA trend. This one, I'm not talking bad about the brand because it's the first time I ever tried it, but it's not my favorite one I've ever had. But there's a couple ones that I've found that I really like. Athletic Brewing makes a really good one. And then there's another one. I can't remember the actual company, but it's called Punk AF, and it's Brewdog. Is it Brewdog? Yep.
Yeah,
it's pretty decent, and the hazy one is pretty good too.
I like that. I've been, especially with for me in dry January, coming off of dry January. Let me be honest. I'll call it semi-dry January because with a show like this, every now and then I do have to indulge, so to speak. But the Athletic I love, and I kid you not, my favorite one that I found, it's at least where I'm at in Kentucky, it's at Total Wine. It's $3 for a 6-pack. It's called Penn's Best NA. And if you like cheap beer, it tastes like a cheap beer. That's all you're going to get. I mean, if you're just expecting, but for 50 cents a can, I don't think you can be.
I'm thinking about writing a letter to Miller Lite and telling them I already own stock in that company from how many years I bought 30-pack after 30-pack, so they're going to have to make me some Jacob Bryant edition Miller Lite NA.
Hey, you never know. They've been doing a whole lot of funky things. I think I saw today they had like a little weird 12-pack, designed by someone quote-unquote famous that got to put their spin on it. So who knows? Maybe the Jacob Bryant NA a 12-pack.
That'd be cool, man. I've tried like their Sharps or whatever, and it's okay. But the closest thing I guess I found to Miller, as far as NA beer, would be the Coors Edge. That one's the closest. But
I have not been able to find that at all because I've been curious. Because you hear one of the big boys doing one. I'm curious.
It's pretty solid, and believe it or not, I was never really an Anheuser-Busch fan, but the Budweiser Zero has been the closest to like a regular light beer that I've found.
Well, and if you're looking for one, like I said, if you can find a Penn's Best NA, and it looks like it's
you said it was a Total
shelf.
Wine. You said it was a Total Wine.
at least at our up here in Lexington, it was a total wine, like $3 for a 6-pack. So you know what you're getting right off the start. But like I said, it brings some good flavor for a light, cheap beer. And for me, I figured I'd stay in the spirit and go with a little spiritless whiskey sour tonight. Little cocktail. Actually did good and actually got the foam on the top. So I'm gonna pat myself on the back.
There you go.
But we're here to talk. You're a country musician, got a new album out.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that may not have heard of Jacob Bryant, but are intrigued now after our conversation on NAs, how would you describe your music style? Because I really love your music, and it's been a lot of fun to kind of do a little deeper dive for this.
Yeah, I mean, the only way I would know how to kind of, I guess, explain who I am and what I am is through music. Music has kind of been my therapy through a lot of bad crap that I went through coming up, and dealt with addiction issues, obviously doing the NA thing, and my mother passed away when I was 19, and that was a weird ordeal, and married and divorced by the time I was 23 kind of thing. Like, so there was a bunch of stuff that I just kind of went through, and music was what I leaned on, I guess, to get me through those times and whatever, and of course at that time alcohol and whatever else I was dabbling in, but yeah, I think the music speaks for itself. I get asked that question a lot. It's like, explain who you are, what you are, whatever. But I mean, I'm just me. And if you listen to any of the songs, you're going to feel the pain, you're going to feel the fun, you're going to feel the down, you're going to feel the up, you're going to feel a little bit of all of it. And that's why I feel like this new record, Bar Stool Preacher, is really a little bit of a roller coaster when it comes to that, because I'm really, I guess, drawn toward metaphors when it comes to songs and the way that I want to say what I'm trying to say. And so there's a lot of weird psychedelic versions of what I'm trying to say on there, but then there's also some very to the point lyrics in there too. So it's a very broad spectrum of really what I'm trying to say. To be honest, I don't know how to answer the question perfectly, other than just listen to the record.
Well, and I agree with that. It's a great record, and you grew up in North Georgia. Do you still live down there, or there?
Yeah, I grew up in Jasper, Georgia, but I recently moved about 30 minutes north of there, right up the highway. So.
How did growing up there, because I know you grew up with kind of a bluegrass family, bluegrass music family and such. How did that, just living there and having family around, kind of impact you and kind of your music and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, it was all of my influence, really. I mean, we grew up sitting on the front porch playing bluegrass music every weekend. My grandparents had a bluegrass band, and that was all I ever wanted to do, was be able to play music like them, and at 8 years old, I kind of started messing around, and here we are. So it definitely influenced 100%. Growing up in that bluegrass kind of world, especially where I'm from, there was nothing to do other than sit around a bonfire and drink and pick music and whatever. But it also gave me a lot of, I guess, discipline with my right hand, per se, learning bluegrass before I learned country and a lot of that stuff, because it's a totally different way of, or I guess a style of playing an acoustic guitar when you're talking grass. But it's really cool to grow up around that kind of stuff, and I wouldn't take anything for it.
Well, and obviously it's working out for you these days. When did you decide to maybe give this a shot and have a career? Because it's one thing to enjoy to play; it's another to want to kind of take the full dive in and make something out of it.
I don't think I ever really wanted to do it. I guess forever, until after Mom passed, because she was a huge music nut and loved it, and you could definitely tell that she saw something in me at the time that I didn't see in myself yet, and I think after she passed, it was just kind of a swift kick in the ass to be like, let's do this, if not for you, for Mom, and I think that really kind of got in my soul and ingrained in me, and then that was really when it happened. So I would say probably 2010 New Year's Day when she passed is kind of when I really, which I had already, had a little bit of success and had landed a management deal and whatever in Nashville, and I guess was playing around with it at the time. But after that happened, it was more of okay, I'm going to do this because I'm going to prove her right, So when I step on the Opry stage February 18th, I'm going to do just that.
Well, and that's a really cool honor. I mean, speaking of that, how cool is it to get that call that you're going to be performing on a stage that so many legends and amazing folks have played and had an opportunity to showcase their music?
I was telling my manager earlier, I'm super excited, but I'm almost like so ready for it to be over because I haven't been able to sleep very good because I'm like dreaming about it and worried about what I'm going to do wrong and all the above. But I mean,
So you got some jitters, little pregame jitters.
Yeah, but it's super weird because I don't get nervous normally. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I mean, Jeff, my manager, and hell, we've been touring since 2014. So I don't get the nerves a whole lot. But I mean, in country music, I don't think there's a bigger gig than that one. Madison Square Garden and Red Rocks would be my other two bucket list venues. But outside of that, I mean, I've played arenas, I've done amphitheaters, I've done small theaters, I've done, crazy big stuff. But I don't think there's anything ever going to top the Opry. I mean, I did the Ryman, the original Opry with Dolly Parton a couple years back, and that was incredible too. But it wasn't technically the Opry, So this one's going to have a little bit different vibe about it for sure.
And that's on the 18th, and that's an amazing thing to have happen, and congrats on that. You talk about playing with someone like a Dolly and just loving music, growing up around music. Who were some of the folks what music did you grow up on and kind of, I don't want to say model yourself after, but kind of had a little bit of an influence on how you wanted to play and perform?
That's also a really tough one. I mean, for country, I would say it was always Keith Whitley for me. Keith Whitley, Travis Tritt, George Jones. But then, like I said, I've always gravitated toward all music. And, you got a little bit, and you can hear it in my sound now. There's a huge Mod Podge of like Allman Brothers, Skinner, Blackberry Smoke, Brantley, Keith Whitley, Travis Tritt, George Jones. Like it's a little bit of all that stuff. A little bit of early Alan Jackson even in there, and there's a lot of influences there. I think just Southern music, if it would be the way to put it. I mean, there's a lot of country artists that weren't from the South, and you can tell, but you listen to like an Alan Jackson or, even Aldean that did modern rock country, but it still has this Georgia sound to it, and that's just kind of, I guess, what I've at least tried to emulate in my own way, the best way I knew how.
Just kind of throw them all in a blender, see what happens.
Man, like I said, I was a dorky skateboarder kid that failed chorus in high school because I was too shy to sing. I didn't have whatever they call it until later. So it unfortunately fell in my lap, and here we are. So I say unfortunately, I wouldn't take anything in the world for it, but it's a crazy whirlwind, man. If you could have told me I'd be sitting right here doing this 10 years ago, I'd tell you he was a damn liar. But it's pretty crazy. I'm very blessed, very excited, and can't wait to see what the future holds.
Well, and like I said, I've loved to listen to your music, your new album. You kind of touched on this a little bit. Obviously, tragedy has happened in your life, and it happens in a lot of our lives. And I feel like, too, for a lot of musicians, past experiences is what they kind of pull off of, or at least they draw from when crafting songs and so forth. How much does kind of maybe your past play in what you're sharing and you're writing about?
I would say, in in the last 12 years, 8 or 9 of that would be nothing but that was all I could think about. But I mean, now I have, 2 beautiful children and a beautiful wife and a new house. And God's been good to me. So there's definitely a lot of the down in the dumps turmoil stuff that I had to get off my chest and write about that was super therapeutic throughout that writing process and whatever. But I think now I'm more focused on, of course, grabbing some of that stuff because that's some of my favorite songs off this new record. Can't Take an Angel to Hell is probably one of my favorites on the album, and that's a super dark place that I was in when I wrote that. But it's also one of those things that I look back on now and I'm like, well, man, that's super cool, but I want to write about some fun stuff too. I'm 31, and like I said, I'm a dad, and I want my kids to be able to look back and not want to cry in their beer every time they listen to Dad's records either. So,
hey, there's nothing wrong, but I get it too. You also want to have a little bit of everything and have something for everyone when they come out to a show. And
yeah.
You kind of talked about Bar Stool Preacher. I like I said, I've been listening to it a lot lately, and that was kind of one of the reasons I wanted to reach out and see if I could get you on, just because I've enjoyed your music. I love The Bottom, Raise 'Em Up, even some of your old ones from your previous album, Pour Whiskey on My Grave, More Than 1 Year, songs like those. But for Bar Stool Preacher, what can folks expect when they hear that?
Yeah, I mean, this record, like I said, I read a scripture, or at least have been taught a scripture in the Bible somewhere where it says, where 2 or more gather in his name, that's church. Well, I consider myself a Christian, not a perfect Christian by any means, but, I'm standing on stage sometimes and I'll be singing something like More Than 1 Year, or Pour Whiskey, or, whatever. And then the next song will be, Sometimes I Pray, the one I wrote about Mom and whatever. And then you'll look out and you'll see a grown man squalling, crying his eyes out and whatever. And there's just something about that track that touches him. And I don't know, for some reason, every night I sit there and say that, kind of the same thing I just said. I'm like, look, we're 2 or more gathered in his name, that's church, and let's go to church real quick, boys, and we'll play that song, and right there in the middle of a bar, somebody that may or may not have known God at that moment or needed God in that moment or whatever it may be, that's kind of my way of saying, look, he still got you no matter where you're at, and he left the 99 to find the one, so it's kind of a little bit of my way of giving back what he's tried to give to me, and somehow try to make my spanking when I get up there a little less.
Well, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And like I said, obviously, Bar Stool Preacher, I find it, or at least a lot of fun on your 2 albums. You get Preacher in there too. Is a little tongue in cheek also, just with everything that's gone on in your life, but also just being able to share your story and maybe impact someone out there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of God somewhere in everything that I do. I mean, this right here is something that my mom wrote, and is hung in my house, and she was kind of, I guess, very in touch with her spiritual side a lot more than I've been, and I definitely want my kids to know that. And like I said, I'm just trying to channel the good in me, not all that craziness I did for so many years.
Well, and you obviously, this is your second full length album that you've put out. How have you grown, or how has everything evolved from Practice What I Preach to Bar Stool Preacher?
Well, I remember recording this record. But yeah,
it's a big difference.
Yeah, I'm joking a little bit. I mean, I did have some fun throughout both, but yeah, I mean, I've just enjoyed a lot more with a lot of it, getting to write with people like Wyatt McCubbin and Carson Chamberlain and Joel Shoemake, who wrote This Side of Sober on some of my earlier stuff, who was a big hero of mine as far as a writer, who I never thought I'd even get a chance to write with, and now he's a dude that I text every single day. Jamie Grooms, who wrote Pour Whiskey, same thing. So I mean, it's just a lot of doors that have been open, since that first one, and it's just a grind every day to try to make better music, better videos, better this, better that, and put on a bigger show. And we got one of the best bands that I've ever had throughout my career on our live show now, and it's going to be an incredible tour this year too. I can't wait. We're supposed to be playing in Indianapolis, I guess Friday, which would be today's the 1st. So, but yeah, there's like some huge snowstorm coming in, so hopefully that show actually happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say we might get ice here in Lexington, so we'll see.
Not fun being in a Prevost with ice on the road.
No, I can't imagine that. That's not exactly where you want to be anywhere. To be honest. Now you touched on the tour. What's it? Being able to get back out and tour again, and and kind of do some things that you love. What's it like being, traveling and seeing cities and just having a lot of fun and sharing your music?
I'm one of them people, I can't just sit still. I got to be able to do something with my hands. So I'm super excited to get back after it and do what I love to do. And hopefully the whole world don't shut down again, because, at this point, it's a virus. It's never going away. So let's get to work.
And have some fun and listen to some good music. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Obviously, looking at your social media and so forth, you can tell, well, not even just talking to you now, family's a big thing with you, very important.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about why it's so important? Obviously, 2 kids, and a wife and so forth, that's a big responsibility too. But, being able to share your family with everyone, even just some random moments in life, how cool is that?
It's awesome. I'm watching my daughter pick up a little mandolin and try to sing to her little brother, already, and she's only 2 and he's 8 months old. So it's kind of really crazy to watch. And then my wife is a health and wellness coach, so she probably actually shares more of her life on her socials than I do. But she's incredible and an incredible mother, and it's super cool to watch the kids, of course, look up to both of us. Naomi, my daughter, will be in there working out with mommy and getting it done, already at 2 years old. So Brittany's laying a great foundation for them, and she actually got me in there earlier. It's kind of funny. I didn't know if I'd be able to walk to the computer, because I haven't worked out in over 10 years, and I'm slowly getting back into it now. So I'm walking around on spaghetti noodle legs right now, but I'm glad she's putting a little fire under me. I needed it.
Well, I'm glad she waited until later in the day, so you're not having to chase your daughter around on noodle legs. Because I've got a 3-year-old who likes to apparently come alive these days at like 7:30, right when we're ready to put her down to bed, and I'm like, whoa,
shoot, I'm ready to go to bed at 7:30. Come on.
I was gonna say, what's it like being a dad? Because like I said, I got a 3-year-old daughter who just is awesome, and it's fun to just take her places and see her learning things and all that. What's it like for you?
It definitely changed my life for the better. I forever didn't even know if I could have kids. I lived kind of a crazy lifestyle and wasn't necessarily careful throughout my teenage/college years and whatever, and just got extremely lucky, I guess. But I'm not super proud of all the things that I guess I did throughout those years. But God blessed me enough to put me in the right situation at the right time. And like I said, I was blessed with a beautiful baby girl, Naomi, and a little chunky butt Weston that likes to eat everything, including whatever he can find on the floor. So we're having to watch him pretty close. But he's gonna be a hoss. I'm 6'2", 200 pounds, and he's already huge. I think he's gonna be way bigger than me. So
maybe an offensive, defensive lineman, maybe linebacker.
Yeah. His nickname is Big Hoss. That's what we call him. So.
Might be setting him up for a little bit of a football future there. I've also, I think it was on maybe your Twitter. If you weren't doing music, would you be a grill master, or what would you be doing with life?
Yeah, probably. I'd something to do with some sort of barbecuing of some sort. I have made friends with the guys over at RecTech, and they make the best pellet smoker. I've tried Traeger, Pit Boss, a bunch of off-brand stuff, and it's not even close. RecTech stuff, they don't pay me, they don't nothing, and I'm just telling you the dang truth. But but no, they make an incredible product, and I've had 2 of their grills now. And my guitar player just got the one they call the Bullseye, which is more like a Weber style kettle, but mine is like a 2-tier pellet grill / smoker, and it'll hold ribs and chicken and like whatever you want to do. But I'm kind of just my regular go-to on it is just chicken breast. We eat fairly clean since my wife does what she does. So it's normally either chicken breast, salmon, or something fairly clean for our meat or steak or something like that. Some kind of fillet. Because I'm the weirdo that don't like ribeye. I know most guys will probably disown me for that, but I don't like fat in my steak. I'd rather have a fillet. But
I was gonna say I'm right there with you. It's funny because my wife will order that, and I'm like, no, just give me the filet mignon. I'm good with that. I'm just very bad at dealing with fat on the steak.
I don't like it. I don't like it either. Maybe it's a preference thing. I mean, I don't even like shrimp when it gets so big that you have to like crunch through it. I like the little bitty shrimp. And I guess I have a texture problem, but yeah, we eat fairly clean. But that RecTech, man, going back to your question, if I wasn't doing music, yes, I'd be doing something to do with smoking some sort of meat or cooking something, because I actually enjoy it. It's not something that I like loathe when I get home. Oh God, I got to cook. No, I'm like, all right, hell yeah, I get to cook. So.
Hey, I love that because I was kind of the opposite for so long. Now, I'm not close to a grill master. I hope I just don't set myself on fire half the time when I'm working a grill, just because I'm a wee bit accident prone. But I mean, I've learned to cook a little bit, and more than just macaroni and cheese or whatever I can throw in the microwave. So I give you props on coming home and just being ready to throw on the grill and have some good food. I mean, now do you make your own spices or rubs or anything like that, or how far into this grill master stuff have you gotten?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to kind of make friends with a bunch of people that do that. A good friend of mine owns Texican Barbecue Company. That's probably my go-to, and I'll have to, after we're done and off camera, I'll show you a bottle of it or whatever, so that way I can send you one. But it's probably my go-to for fish and chicken and things like that. It's in the realm of like a key lime pepper kind of seasoning. Like if you can imagine like lemon pepper, but not lemon, little key lime sweet vibe, but it's orange peel instead of the key lime. So it's very citric, but peppery. It's really good for just kind of a clean, fresh, like, if you want to do like chicken and broccoli and eat good for a night, it's really good.
I like that. I like that. Now thinking this through, obviously, you get to go out on tour. Are you kind of a foodie when you go out? Are you looking for fun places to eat, or are you just hoping to get a good meal wherever and then off to perform and then off to the next place?
Well, I was about to say, it depends on where we're at. I mean, sometimes it's quick trip or racetrack roller food or whatever we get at a truck stop, But, I mean, yes, I absolutely... Over the last couple of years, I've been a little more selective as to what I eat. We'll usually Uber Eats something to the bus, or, if we're at a venue that does have a nice restaurant attached to it, we try to eat fairly clean. But the goal is for this year, Jarrett, my guitar player I mentioned, we're going to bring that RecTech on the road with us and start buying some meat and just meal prep some either like freezer broccoli or something we can throw in the microwave on the bus, and then just bring a bunch of steak or chicken or something, just salt, pepper, and done. Just eat meat and veggies and be done with it.
I was going to say, that sounds pretty good, and I think that's better than the truck stop burrito or whatever.
It tastes great at 3 o'clock. It tastes great at 3 o'clock in the morning, but you don't like it about 7 or 8 hours later.
No, you do not. And before I let you go, obviously, you mentioned you got a tour coming up, pending weather. Obviously, Mother Nature can throw a wrench in some things real easy. But what can folks expect from you in 2022?
Man, just our normal thing. It's rock and roll rodeo road show, I guess would be the way to put it. I mean, it's kind of it's literally a rock band with a country singer. We're not. I guess your mainstream, right up the middle, modern country, or right up the middle, old country. It's we got a little bit of everything for anybody. I mean, there's 90s country stuff in there, and then there's, stuff that lays right there on the radio. So it's it's just I enjoy playing music that I like. So if I like a song that sounds like Vern Gosdin 1 minute, I'll sing it, or if I like a tune that sounds like Morgan Wallen the next, I'll sing that. So it's kind of just me being me, and if people like it, cool. If they don't, then they can ease on down the road and watch somebody else. But I hope they stay and hang out with me, and my buddy Hayden Kaufman's going to be on tour with us this spring too, so that's going to be super cool.
Nice. That sounds like a great time. And if you want to find out more, JacobBryantMusic.com. Find him also on social media as well. And I highly recommend it if you haven't. Find him on Spotify, Apple, whatever you're listening to. Like I said, Bar Stool Preacher's out now. It's a great album. And Jacob, thanks for sharing a little bit of life and music with me.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate your time too.